What's up? Welcome to another show review. I'm your girl Mary, and we will be reviewing one of my favorite shows, Harlem, tonight. I'm officially caught up on episode 4, and I'm ready to talk about it. But before we get into it, I do want to ask you all to please subscribe to this channel. Let me know you're watching and let me know what type of videos you would like to see. Comment down below so we can talk about this. I don't want to be on YouTube or nowhere talking to myself, so let's talk about this. And please like this video if you like this video. So we're going to go ahead and get into the first scene, and we open up with, and like I've said before on my other Harlem reviews, I really love about Harlem how they sync up the songs and the voiceovers that Camille does with what's going on. I'm sure other shows or movies do that too, but in Harlem is very noticeable, at least to me, and I can see how it all connects. But it opens up with Camille talking about legacy and things like that, and I was thinking this episode was going to pick back up like the others, right where it left off, like the exact scene where it left off. So I'm thinking we finna hop back in the room with Camille and Ian and figure out what was in this envelope. But they pop us up in the living room and they're sitting on the couch watching TV, and it's like anticipation maybe, like, what is y'all doing? You got us anxious at this point. And so they're sitting there talking, and Ian asks her, do you think you'll ever join a cult? And by this time, I'm anxious and I want to know what was in the envelope, but hey, I'm just watching. And so she's like, no, I don't think I'll be good in that. And they go through the reasons why, well, Camille goes through the reasons why she says, because I'm too skeptical and I overthink, so I probably wouldn't buy into it. But on the other hand, with you, you're pretty nice and, you don't ask a lot of questions, and you just, probably wouldn't want to offend them by asking, how can you leave? And you probably would just be stuck in a cult. And he's like, you're right. I'm the dummy that's out here, probably would lean into that, because I'm the dummy that's out here being sued, by Mira's parents. And that's when they roll into what was in the envelope. And he whips it out, and it's like a big sad day, because it's like, oh darn, so you're being sued for a lot of money, but behind this. And he goes into explaining how, well, I didn't even want this big wedding when it's over $60,000. Like, I didn't even want this big wedding. No, I told her that we should go to the justice of the peace and just be her and her family, maybe some friends. And he just going into detail. And Camille's like, I get it. I hear what you're saying. You didn't have to tell me all that. And so he's like, okay, well, I digress. And so, but he just gets into his feelings and pretty much saying how now I gotta pay for this, and like, I'm just in this bind or whatever. And what I do like in that moment is a couple things. One, like I said, they open the scene with the couple talking about this weird topic of being a cult, which leads to this other stuff. It's almost like those are the conversations you usually do have with your boo. Like, y'all talk about random stuff, like who a cult. And then it's the fact that during this scene where he's, worried about everything going wrong, Camille is being very reassuring, and she uses the word, we'll get through this. And I know he likes to hear that. And like I said, I'm someone who will like reassurance too. So I get that, like telling him, like, I'm in this with you. Like, I got your back. And so I do like seeing that in that scene where she's letting him know, like, we're in this together. They end up losing the remote control. Like, these two will lose something on this couch. And they lose the remote control, and they're sitting there looking for the remote control. And Ian finds her niether ring, and he pulls it out like, oh, you got one of your little hair ties or whatever. And he's just sitting there like dangling. She's like, no, that's not a hair tie. Like, and he's like, oh, well, what is it? She's like, oh, that's my niether ring. Like, we need to, when did this fall out? He's like, I doubt it fell out right now. So they calculated to when it fell out, and they wound it down to, I guess, the previous day or time where they had some couch action going on. And he has a little flashback And I almost have a Monique moment, like, what you thinking about? Like, I would like to see it. What you flashing back? And he's like, yeah, it was a good time. And so it's almost like, what was y'all doing? And so she's saying in his, like, as he's talking about it, she's on her phone Googling and trying to figure out, probably at the same time, how she can get a doctor's appointment to get her NuvaRing back in, because she knows, like, if this is out and we did what we did, like, this could lead to a whole baby. And he, she says that, and he's like, well, it's not that bad. It wouldn't be the end of the world. And it kind of takes her aback, because she's almost like, well, we just got back together. Introducing a baby into this right now may not be the best thing, but he has a point, and also saying, like, but we're in our 30s, like, it wouldn't be the worst thing that could happen. Like, he knows, like, this is it for him. He wants to be with her. At least that's what he's thinking in his mind now. So having a baby wouldn't be that bad. But I do see on, where you can see both sides of, you don't want to rush into it, but it wouldn't be the worst thing to happen either. So all right, so we skip on over to our girl Ty, and she's in the doctor's office. And from what we gather from the dialogue between the nurse and Ty, she's there for a blood transfusion, and this is her third one, which is very alarming, because blood transfusions sound very serious to me. And the nurse is telling her that with your condition, this isn't a treatment for what you have. Like, you can't keep doing this forever. And she's like, why don't you just go ahead and get a hysterectomy? And it's like, girl, is that, you gotta jump that far, And so Ty is frustrated with the nurse, and she's like, no, I'm not trying to just jump out there and do that. And thanks, I know how many times I've been in here doing this. I hate I gotta be doing this too. Like, lay off a bit. But I get her frustration, and I do understand the nurse trying to help, but the nurse ain't really trying to help. And so while Ty is in there, she gets a call from the lawyer, and the lawyer's updating her on what's going on, or trying to, because as she's talking to the lawyer, the nurse is getting confused and thinks she's talking to her. And that dialogue kind of goes back and forth and just frustrate me, because the nurses, I'm like, girl, are you not gathered all up here? Like, why you keep thinking she's talking to you? So I could see why Ty was frustrated. But she ended up getting another blood transfusion. And like the nurse said, this could be your last one. Like, we're not doing anymore. So at this point, Ty's going to have to come up with a solution for her problem. And it's not looking good at this doctor's office, because they want her to jump straight to a hysterectomy. And that just doesn't sound like what Ty wants to do. So from the doctor's office, we run on over to Quinn's boutique, where we're there with Quinn, Camille, and Ty. And Quinn is trying on dresses for her 73 Questions with Vogue shoot. And she's trying on this little cute floral pink dress, and I guess it's not the first one. And she's, asking them about it, trying to get feedback. She's like, is it giving Vogue? And, Camille is all on board. It's like, girl, yes, it's giving. And Ty's just like, no, it's not giving. I actually like the blue one better, but like I said, Ty was being snappy with the nurse. So Ty just seems to be in a mood right now, and her energy is just off. But she was like, I'm just saying, I don't like it. And Quinn is back to the drawing board. So she goes back to get another dress. And she's like, well, I really want you all to agree on something for me to wear, because I'm so nervous about this. I hope I can get a unanimous decision. And Camille lets us know that the group hasn't had a unanimous decision since everyone agreed that shower sex is overrated. And, well, girls, to each his own, To each his own. So they continue talking as Quinn is trying on different dresses, and Ty upstate them on everything that's been going on. Really, her frustrations with the divorce process with Brandon. And she's just like, I wish a flying house would just, come about and swoop up Brandon or fall on Brandon. And Quinn jumps in and is like, yeah, I know I started with Mira, I think, and went to Brandon. But either way, Quinn is like, well, yeah, I wish they would get Isabella too. And, and then as she's saying that, she takes it back immediately. And she's like, well, you know what? It's kind of my fault with Isabella. I guess I was being too pushy, just being a little too much of myself. And she kind of starts to get in her head about that, and they try to cheer her up in that moment, because they could see that she's kind of going down at that point. And thankfully, that's also when Angie comes in, and she brings in good news and good vibes. you know, she always usually has the good vibes anyway. Has good news too. And she's telling the girls that she was just accepted or got a role for a Hallmark Christmas film in which she would be the best friend to the main character. And we all know a good Hallmark best friend film is always up there. So the girls are excited, especially Quinn. Like, Quinn may be more excited than Angie is. And so they talk about her news, and after she gives her good news, she goes around and is like, so what y'all been talking about? And so I think it was Camille who started out first and was like, well, Ty got this situation going on where she can't get, you know, all these, she been getting all these blood transfusions she can't get anymore. And so she's like just dropping that on her. And so Ty was like, nah, I'm not finna have a heat on me. And so Ty goes ahead and tells a little Camille teens like, oh, speaking of, Camille actually lost her NuvaRing, you know, got it knocked up out of her. And of course that perks up Angie. They're like, that's her type of time. And so she's like, oh, so y'all must have really been, you know, getting it in. And Camille was like, yeah, girl. So they had a moment, you know, discussing all of that good stuff and just going around talking about that. And when they was asking Camille in regards to, you know, how would you feel, you know, about the baby or whatever, she's like, that's not something I'm looking to do right now. Like, that's not the time I'm on. She was like, but what really confused me was Ian. They were like, yeah, we were just gonna ask, like, what did he say? And she's like, well, he was actually open to it. Like, he was not opposed to it. And, you know, like, you know, again, Quinn is me. And she's like, well, why wouldn't he be? Like, y'all have been together over a decade. Like, what would be wrong with it? And Camille states her points and everything and tells them how she feels about it. And she goes through this list of what ifs. And I think that's what's scaring her. Like, you can scare yourself out of a situation by asking too many what ifs and just not living in the moment of it. And I understand because you want to be prepared, but sometimes you can be overly prepared, if that makes sense. So you're asking just too many questions, but she's just asking all these things. And what if it do like this? What if it goes like that? And her scenarios kept leading back to somebody ordering creepy dolls off of QVC. Like, I don't know if maybe Camille was haunted by creepy dolls on QVC, but somehow the conversation kept going back to that, and that's where she lost a lot of us. But the girls end up dispersing. Angie had to go to her Hallmark film. Camille was actually going to her doctor's appointment, and Ty ended up going to the doctor's appointment too to just get a second opinion about her situation with going on and if she really has to get a hysterectomy. And everyone leaves Quinn there. And at that point, when she's by herself, I kind of felt that Quinn really needed someone. Like, again, she kind of gave signs subtly that she was not herself. And I think, like I said, like Quinn had been saying since season 1, that she just doesn't feel heard a lot of times. And I think she's still struggling to find that space to fully be heard. And I think because she has felt that she's not heard, instead of trying to constantly still be heard, she just shuts down. And I think that's what she's been doing, so people don't know how to be there for her. And I think that's what's going on, because she, as soon as they left, she got right back in her head about stuff. And it's like, don't do that. You know, she needed somebody there in that moment to kind of pick her up. But unfortunately, like I said, all the girls had stuff to go and do. So that's where we wrap that up. All right, so we slide on over to our girl Angie, and she has made it over to her Hallmark table read. And Hallmark gave me creepy vibes from the time she walked through the door. Like, the dude with the fake snow, welcome to Hallmark. Like, all the way down to the girls with the little red shoes at in the hallway. Like, it's almost exactly what I would picture at Hallmark. Like, I can't even get jiggy with a lot of those films, because after a while I'm like, oh, this is too creepy, like too creepishly good. I don't know how to explain it, but it was giving some weirdo action. But she finally made it to the room where they have to do the table read, and she's greeted by the rest of the cast, and the main character stands up and says, you know, I just loved you on Moesha. And she's like, who? On what, girl? And he's like, that ain't her. That's the one that was fired. That's somebody else. So she puts two and two together. She's like, oh, she was fired? Like, what's going on? Like, what happened? And so the lady tells us, like, yeah, I don't know who she was because I don't even watch the show I just told you I loved you on. To be honest, I never saw it. But yeah, she got fired because she didn't know how to ride a bike. And they're looking at her like, you better know how to ride a bike. That's when Angie knew it got real, because Shawty don't know how to ride no bike. So she stood there with that little awkward laugh and smile she be doing. And that was all she wrote on that. She's going to have to learn how to ride a bike or wrap that on up, because Hallmark ain't cutting it. Like, they ain't playing with you. All right, so we leave Angie and we scoot over to our girls, Camille and Ty. And they are at their doctor's appointment with Camille's doctor, Dr. Lipston or Littleton, Dr. L. We in Dr. L's office and they're in there chit-chatting, waiting on her. And as she come in, Camille's like, yeah, had some action going on. It popped out, girl. I'm here to get it back. But while I'm here, let me go ahead and talk to you about some other options, because I don't foresee us slowing down on that type of action no time soon. Like, can you put the one in my arm? Like, let me get that security so I'm good, because I can't have this whoopsies, And so the doctor's like, well, sure, whatever you like, whatever you want, when it comes to that, I'm cool with, as long as the one right here gonna cost you a good 3 years without kids. Like, if that what you want, you ready to go 3 years? And so she starts to think like, I am, but I don't know if Ian is. And she has the fumbling moment, almost like she gave James, and like she just gets the stumbling over herself. And she's like, I don't know. She's like, but let's just go ahead and get the NuvaRing thing. And I'm going to have to just tell Buddy to take it easy. And so, like I said, Ty's at the appointment with her. And she's like, well, before I go, my homegirl over here got a little situation. So Ty explains to her, like, I have the Holy Trinity. And honestly, I'm so thankful for these type of scenes, because I did my Googles after watching several times, and I'm like, I didn't know anything about it. So I'm glad we have these type of educational scenes. I learned a lot. And Ty says she has the Holy Trinity, the polyps, cysts, and fibroids. And she was like, she's been doing the blood transfusions, and apparently that's not a lifelong thing. And that she's been recommended this, and she's want to know, what do you think? And the lady's like, well, I'm not your doctor. All doctors gonna say that. They gonna get a disclaimer. Well, I ain't your doctor. I ain't seen your records. But what I can say is, going to that route, what they're telling you is not the next step initially. I don't know what they're saying to maybe say that, but if you arrange an appointment, girl, there are other options we can talk about. And Ty's just like, oh, like you can see her face almost become light in a sense, where it's like, are you serious? There are other options. And so that gives her a little hope, I think, and she doesn't feel as stressed out about the situation as she was back at the other doctor's office, because now she's like, there may be something else I can do to, that is a lifelong treatment, or that can rectify the problem. So I think that gives her a little hope in there. And I like that. Like I said, I really like that scene, because like I said, it taught us a lot, or it taught me a lot in regards to the different options she has, because she also mentions before they leave different options for both Camille and Ty with this ovarian reserve testing, to just do a test to see what your body is producing and what's going on, pretty much, and how you're looking. And she recommends that to both of them, and they look at each other like, you down. Another scene I love, with friends being able to support each other on a different level. Like, I love that. Like, let's go ahead and get this health stuff together. Like, let's get our health stuff checked out. Let's make sure we both good. And they're there to support each other through what would be a nerve-wracking time for both of them, I'm sure, because we know Camille a little nerve-wracky, and maybe Ty too. And so I just think that's a good thing that they have each other to go through that process with. So after we leave the doctor's office, we scoot on over to a mini group link up, where we have Ty and Camille at our little spot, and they're sitting there and they're talking about everything. And Camille orders her a mimosa, and Ty orders her, I think, like a not an alcohol drink. And Camille was almost like, girl, it's brunch. Like, we supposed to be here to drink. And apparently Ty has a meeting with her lawyer. So she's like, I'm trying to be in the right frame of mind so I can be focused at that meeting. In which I get that. As they're sitting there talking, going back and forth, Angie comes in, walking really funny. And they're like, what's going on with you? And she explains that, you know, it's real when it comes to the deal and Hallmark in this bike. Like, I have to learn how to ride the bike. So I was on Quinn's Peloton trying to get it, and I couldn't get it. And now my body is hurting. And I don't know what I'm going to do, y'all, because I have to learn how to ride this bike. And so she's just expressing, you know, how she's feeling, what she's going through. And she's like, you know, to be honest, they really should change that saying. Like, talking about easy as riding a bike, that's not true. They should say easy as giving fellatio. Easy as something that's easy. Not riding a bike, because riding a bike ain't that easy. And Camille's like, well, giving a fellatio not that easy either, depending on what you working with. And they like, who you talking about, Jameson or Ian? And so she doesn't answer, of course, but the girls get to a back and forth in which Ty thinks it's Jameson and Angie thinks it's Ian, and it could be both of them. I don't even care. Whichever one she don't want, I want. That's all I'm saying. But to try to switch subjects, Camille brings in the topic of Quinn's. Like, so where is Quinn? Can we go ahead and order, or what? We need to wait on Quinn, or what? What's going on? And so Angie lets us know that no, Quinn is at home stressing and a mess. Like, Quinn is at home. She didn't sleep last night, up worried about the 73 questions interview. So she's at home trying to get herself together, like trying to prepare, trying to get some rest. Like, she's a mess at home. And that's another like red flag to me about Quinn, but that's another story. So the girls go ahead and start back talking about Angie's situation in regards to the bike. And Camille lets her know, like, I could get you a little help. Like, Ian knows how to ride bikes. He actually rides bikes. So he could probably give you a lesson. Like, girl, he's a good teacher. And she's like, okay, like, if you think he'll do it. But Camille's like, it's fine, it's fine. So she's gonna set up a lesson for Angie to get riding lessons with Ian. So we gonna see how that goes. All right, so we ride over to the scene where we are with Camille, Ian, and Angie getting ready to ride this bike. And the girl is ready. She got her pants on. She got her gear on. Ian out there, got the bike. He ready to go. And so they're standing out there, and he's like, hey, this what we finna do, you know, finna lay some ground rules. She's like, you right, finna lay some ground rules. And she goes in, and next thing you know, she calling the man a B word. And I'm like, he just flew out so fast, like he went past me, Camille, probably went past Ian too. Like, she said the B word so fast. I said, whoa, wait a minute. Like, you know, I watched it a few times. Like, yeah, she really just let that fly real quick. She's like, so this what we gonna do. And she lays out her ground rules. And one of her rules is, do not let go of this bike without telling me. Like, and if I say stop, you stop. Like, she lays out her ground rules, in which I understand. And so as she lays out her ground rules, Ian's like, okay, fine, I got some rules too. You gonna wear this helmet and you gonna do what I tell you to do, like, period. And so they get on the bike, or she gets on the bike. She starts to go. And she don't tell Ian to let go, but he lets go. And this is where Ian makes me mad. Because didn't this girl just tell you don't let go unless I tell you to let go? Why you breaking her rules when she didn't break your rules? Like, she put that ugly little helmet on because you told her to, but you let her go. So as soon as she realized that he's let go, she's nervous. And so she wobbling over to the left and falls in the bush. Now, I'm going to just tell y'all from experience of somebody who tried some for the first time again recently. Like, I was trying to skate, and it was not a cute sight. And the teacher that I had, I got one good lesson, maybe two. Baby, I was trying to thug it out on my own. I was out there trying to back. Like, it's not fun to be left out on your own. Like, you get scared. Then, I can only imagine what Angela was going through. I just got triggered. I had a flashback. But I felt so bad. So she falls, she hurts her knee. And in this moment, it's almost funny because the way that Ian and Camille take care of her is almost like parental like. And I guess that's what, you know, the story probably was trying to give. And so she hurts herself. And they're like, oh, let's get you back upstairs. So they get her back upstairs. Ian is putting a Band-Aid on her. And Camille is like, oh, you want a juice? You know, I need some feel better or whatever. So she got her little apple juice box, little juice box. She's sitting there with her juice box and she's getting a Band-Aid. And Ian is, you know, pep talking her like, you know, you're going to get back on there and try again tomorrow. And Camille's like, you know, you gave it your best shot. And they're really giving parents right here. And it's a cute scene to see because it's like, especially knowing, you know, how the episode started with him not being opposed to kids. It's almost like, I could see that for y'all. You know, I want that for y'all. And it's like, here go Angie. And she slick ruined the moment when she found out that the that the peanut butter had peanuts in it. It was the chunky peanut butter on her peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Just like, who eats this? And that's where they just, like, the vibe just killed. Like, all right, so we skip on over to Ty, and Ty is at the mediator's office, I'm assuming, with her lawyer and Brandon and his lawyer. And we jump into the scene, and they're at the table where they're discussing what Brandon is looking to get. Brandon truly wants half of this woman's stuff, and I think at this point he's just doing it, I don't know, off GP because he can, off the strength that he feels he's entitled to it because he's by himself now. Like, I don't understand why Brandon is going this hard for this girl money, but he's at the table saying how he wants half, and Ty's giving it to him like, tell this N-word, blah, blah, blah. Like, she going off in front of all the folks. And his lawyer said something to her lawyer, like, tell your client to stop addressing my client with these kind of names. And so since the man was telling Ty to stop talking to his client in them type of names, she started talking to him and with those type of names. And it just got crazy because Ty was just not feeling nobody. She ended up even going off on her lawyer. Like, she was going off on everybody. Like, anybody was getting, like, shots all around. Everybody was getting it. And so her lawyer ends up taking her outside. Like, girl, calm your nerves. Like, I'm trying to help you, but what you're doing in front of these people is not going to help your case at all. Like, you sitting up here going off on these people. It's not a good look. Chill out. And Ty's like, well, we gotta do something. Like, I'm paying you all this money and I'm sitting up here trying to give away half of my what I've earned. And the lady's like, listen, I get your frustration, but at the end of the day, if we go to court, child, you might be giving up more than half. You might come out with in a negative because you got to have it come out a lot of fees and this and that. Like, think about what you're doing. So as she has Ty out in the hallway, she tries to get through to her, which I hope she does. I don't really know, but well, I guess in a way not, because we go over to our next scene where Ty and Camille are at their doctor's appointment to go ahead and do their ovarian reserve testing, and Ty's in the waiting room venting to Camille. And I don't know if it was me and maybe we were just zoomed in on them, but to be in the waiting room, Ty seemed to be talking and cussing kind of loud. And I mean, hey, I get it, but girl, whisper, use your inside voice. And they in the waiting room, and Ty's just venting her frustrations. Like, I can't believe that this man wants half of my money. Like, he didn't earn it. Like, he wasn't here shooting in the gym with me. Like, it's frustrating. I get it. So Camille is trying to be a good sounding board for her. And it's like, she gives her like a biblical quote, you know, even during her hard times, which I thought was very nice. And they're there for their appointment. They get called to the back. And this scene kind of, I don't know, it leaves us anxious for a minute. Because as we're taken to the back, the girls are put in their room. And I rewind, you know me, I'm going to rewind back. And I thought at first maybe it was one of those scenes where the results maybe got swapped to the room where you were supposed to go over here and you were supposed to go over here. So you got told the wrong results type of things. That's what I was anticipating happening. So I rewind back and I'm like, did they go in the appropriate room? And they did go in the appropriate room. And so they go into the rooms and Dr. L comes in and she's reading the results from the testing and things. And she says, you know, from your test, you know, and it's one of those flip screens again where we go here, we go there. And one room, she's saying, you know, your results are excellent, like above average, like out of this part. On the other hand, she's like, your results came back kind of low. We're very concerned. On the other hand, she's like, you know, we want to go ahead and move forward today with reserving what you got because they're perfect. You don't want to waste any time. And on the other hand, they're like, you might not be able to have kids, so we need to do for the testing, you know. And it's like you don't know who's being told what, but because we're at this point, if you're like me, you're so invested in all of the characters, like it don't even matter who is being told the negative news. It's a gut punch either way, because even if you have been saying in life, like, I don't want kids, I don't want kids, to even know the fact that, darn, I can't even have kids if I wanted them, it's like, ugh, like it hurts. Like I've had friends to go through that discussion and just feeling for them, like the prayers I would do with them and for them, it's like it hurts. Like you could feel it. And I just felt for either one, because we don't know yet who it was. So we move on from the girls' doctor's appointments and we link back up with Quinn, who is getting ready for her 73 Questions with Vogue interview. And when Vogue knocks on the door and Quinn opens the door, she is gorgeous. That dress is everything. Like, Quinn to me doesn't miss when it comes to the outfits. Whoever style Quinn, baby, let me send you my address. That way you can send me the stuff. Quinn don't miss, and she was looking gorgeous. They come in, they're asking the questions, and the interview was starting off great. Like, I love the answer she was giving at first. Like, oh, what are your morning favorite drinks? Well, in the morning I drink kale smoothie, in the night I drink whatever, she says. You gotta watch it and see, honey. And she's going through the questions, and she finally gets to the question that says, name the 3 things that make you happy. And, you know, she starts naming them off, and she gets to the 3rd one, and she's like stumped, like, and she's like, let's start over. And so they do it again, and she's in her head at this point. And so they come to the door again. She's like, are you ready? He's like, I'm ready, like Freddie. He's like, who wants to say that on Vogue, child? Wrap it up and start over again. Like, at that point, I was telling her to start over again, like, cut it. And so they go out, they come back in again. She gets through the question again. And this time she gets stuck on the same question of what 3 things make you happy. And even this time, like, the producer or the question guy has to help her out because she gets stuck again. He's like, but you just said, like, oh yeah, use that. So then the very next question after she gets past that stumper was, from a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? Listen, y'all done already asked this girl what make her happy and she couldn't know. How you figure, like, who writes these questions, Vogue? Who writes them? So that question stumps her too, and it just spirals from there. Not to just, you know, leave y'all with too much, because you need to go watch it. She just spirals to the point to where she begins to cry and she begins to overshare with this person. And that's how you know you're almost hurting and you need somebody, where you just unleash on a stranger who probably don't even care, and you're just feeling so vulnerable and needing just an outlet that you just, you know. And ultimately she ends up saying, you know, I can't do this. And it's sad because we know how bad Quinn wanted this. And even during that time, he was like, you want to reschedule? She's like, no, I don't reschedule. Like, she really wanted to do it. She was so excited for this. And so it sucks, you know, that in these moments, you know, with her going through stuff, and, you know, you miss these kind of opportunities. And you just hope that you can get these kind of opportunities back. And I wish she would have been in a better headspace to be in that moment, to be present. But because she had so much life going around her, so many unresolved feelings and emotions that she didn't address, it just boiled over, and that it ruined that moment for her. It ruined that moment that would have been like a life-changing moment and a one-time experience type of thing. And so I really just hated this scene for Queen. Like, this is another scene other than her crying on the card where Queen has just had me like, girl, come here, let me give you a hug. Because it's like, I could feel you. I could feel you so deep. So we move over to our girl Ty, and she's at the crib with her cousin, and they're going through her stuff to account for all her assets. It's a requirement that they have with the mediator to account for all her assets, I guess, to see how much she's worth or whatever with, you know, the thing with Brandon. And she's basically saying, like, she has to account for everything, because if anything is unaccounted for, Brandon and the lawyer can accuse her of fraud, and they can lead to bigger problems. So they're literally writing down and taking pictures of everything valuable in the house. And so they're going through Ty's things, and they get to talking. And Ty's cousin, first of all, let me talk about Ty's cousin, Nikki. When the camera panned to Nikki, I said, oh, baby, Nikki fine. Nikki got a little shape on her. She cute. And so they sitting there talking or whatever, and Nikki pulls out a picture of Ty in a dress. And it's a baby picture of Ty in a dress. And this Nikki's like, what would you say to this girl, like, right now? Like, look at you. And Ty's like, man, I would say so much to her. Well, Nikki was like, well, I know you better say, don't marry that man because you gay. Don't marry him. I'm going to take half your money. And Ty's like, yeah, I would definitely say that. But on top of that, I would also say, you know, she goes into things. And she's like, for one, don't watch Lost, because they don't know what they were doing. And I had to pause right there and stand, because Lost was Lost. Like, I watched Lost too, and I'm with Ty. Like, that triggered me. I spent all that time watching Lost for y'all to maneuver that storyline left and right. Like, they were wrong for that. So I'm with Ty. I'm going to tell my younger self that too. Don't waste those hours watching Lost. Don't do it. And she was also like, I would also tell her that you'll have this super great person, cousin in your life, you know, Nikki, who will almost like pave the way for you and be there for you when you need it most. Like, give you a couch to live on when you need somewhere to stay. And I really love that moment again with Ty, how we're seeing a different side of her with her family, because her and Nikki also get to talk about family, and they get to talking about her grandma Florence, or Grammy Flo, who leaves Ty this necklace, who she says she's not going to account for on the list, which I hope don't come back to bite her. Like, that put a red alarm up to me. I'm like, ooh, Ty, at least write it down and say it was a gift from your grandma. Like, I don't know how that worked. I haven't been through that. But when they were going through stuff, they got on the topic of their grandmother. And they both talked about how they felt comfortable with their grandmother because they felt, in a sense, that she was different too, like them. And they felt that's probably why she accepted them so much, because she also was different. That maybe the grandmother had a, you know, different sexuality as well than what the family might be under the impression of. And so they kind of have that scene where, like I said about Angie, that Ty really needed to have to feel that support and kind of ground her, because she has been going through so much. I think having that conversation was good for her, and I think it happened right on time, like after the stuff with Brandon. I think she needed that, because they get to talking about family, and Ty does admit to her cousin that, you know, until recently I hadn't even started thinking about a family. Like, I didn't even think it was possible. Like, I wasn't even on that. But with going through stuff recently, I'm thinking about it. And her cousin's like, yeah, you definitely should, child. We out here doing it. We doing it all. And it's people going to be like us to change the family dynamic and give people like us a hope that come after us in our family or other families, that they can have a family too. And so I really like that saying. Again, another learning point for myself and for others that may not just be knowledgeable about those type of things. I thought that was a really great scene to have. And I realized too in that scene that it ties to the initial voiceover that we started with Camille when it became to Legacy. And that's what this whole episode is talking about in regards to, just what you will leave, you know, in this life. And so they actually even mentioned in that scene, we will have a queer legacy in our family now, because when we get to having kids, or, you know, doing our family thing from this moment forward and after us, other family members will feel okay doing that too. So I like how in each scene you can get tidbits that tie everything in together to the overall episode. So I did like that too in this scene as well. So after Ty wraps things up with her cousin, she skips on over to the vow renewal where Angie is already there. And Angie is there texting Quinn like, girl, where you at? Like, how we at your parents' thing before you? And so Ty comes in, sees Angie. Angie's looking cute, her little floral dress on. Probably smelling as good as she looked. Ty, same, coming in. I love the little suit. Had like a little marble or some type of abstract look going on. Nice. And so the girls in there talking, and Ty was like, well, I'm just gonna go on upstairs where the vow renewal gonna be. Like, give me a drink. And so while Angie's at the bar, this weird little couple like giving her the eye, and she's like, no, never in your life, my life, nobody life will I mess with y'all. Like, leave me alone. She's standing there trying to get the bartender's attention. Michael walks up. Michael, that Quinn's mom tried to hook her up with, he walks up to the bar flirting with Angie, and he's like asking her some questions, and pretty much he's like, hey, so would you be down to steal a bottle of liquor and meet me outside with it? I'll call a distraction and you do that. She's like, yeah, I'm down. Of course Angie down. Of course she's down. And so Michael comes up with a smart yet weird plan, because he fakes like he's having an allergic reaction to ice. I didn't even know you could. I'm going to Google that one. So the guy comes from around the bar, and he tries to, you know, help him out. And while the guy's distracted, Angie does run behind the bar, and she's checking the bottles out. She's trying to find the heaviest one. She might not have looked at the labels. She grabs the heaviest bar and scurries on outside. And she's outside laughing and waiting. And Michael comes running after, and they're excited. They're like, whoa, we pulled it off. Like, what you get? They look at the bottle, and it's like simple syrup, like a mixer. Like, nothing nobody could do with this to get drunk. Like, it's a garnish type thing. So he's like, well, unless you want to get a sugar high, this not gonna do. Like, I got you though. Like, let's just go get a drink. And so the Uber lifts were too far away, and Michael spots some bikes. Bikes will not get away from Angie, and she's immediately turned off. Like, go ahead, sir. Like, leave me alone. But because it's Michael, he has a little charm about himself. He's like, oh, well, I pegged you for a woman who doesn't mind sharing control and something in control. Michael lost me with his charm, honey. Next thing I heard him say was something about a venture, and his arm was sticking out, and baby, my hand was in it. Like, I was ready to go. And we went off. I was with him and Angie. We went off. He took us to the park, and he taught her how to ride the bike. This man taught her how to ride the bike. And to me, that was just so romantic. And they're in the park. She's learning how to ride a bike, literally going up and down in circles. You know, she's excited. I know how to ride a bike now. And he's taking videos of her doing it. Like, he's just as excited as she is. And as they're doing this, here comes our girl Camille with her cute little voiceovers going. And they have this song that starts playing. You know I'm down for that type of time. The song was Too Sweet by India Shawn. And lyrics, again, on point. Camille's, I'm getting tongue-tied. Camille's words on point. Everything just aligned so perfectly. How they blended the scenes with the songs and with her voiceovers, and everything flows. Good job. And so, like I said, the voiceover comes on, the song come on, and as the song is playing, we are taken from Angie living her best life in the park with Michael, videos, riding bikes, they end up kissing. And we're taken from their lovely scene to such a sad scene with Quinn sitting in her cute dress in the tub, crying her little heart out, like sad days. We see her mom calling her and she's not answering. She's just crying. And the song continues to take us back to the vow renewal party, but this time we're with Camille and Ian, and they're walking in, and he's like, man, you know, we looking good, but man, you looking amazing. Like, he giving her compliments, you know. I like that. He's giving her compliments, and he gets her settled at the table, goes to get a drink, and as she's standing there, she's texting Quinn too, like, girl, where you at? Like, everybody's trying to check in. And Ty comes over, and they get to talking, and Camille's voiceover comes back on, and I said, whoop, here come the news. Like, you could tell something was coming. And as her voiceover comes back on, I can't remember exactly what she said, but it's something in regards to connecting the future and the past. And I don't even know how they relate, but I'm going to figure it out. But as she's saying that, she's asking Ty, like, so how was your results or whatever? And Ty's telling her, like, oh, they were really good. You know, not only am I overachiever, but my body's an overachiever. Like, she's doing her thing. Like Doc said, we're in excellent condition. And that's when we know, like the viewer knows. So Camille had the bad news. And so we're sitting there listening to Ty go on and on about how good her results are, knowing how bad Camille's results were. And so it's horrible to watch, but it's almost like bittersweet because Ty's so excited, and she's like, I'm going to go forward with it. Like, I'm going to go ahead and freeze my eggs. And it's almost one of them moments where you want to be so excited for your friend, but it's also like, I'm hella excited for you, but I'm also hella sad for me because my news is totally the opposite. And Ty's like, so how about you? You know, what was your results? And, you know, Camille tells her, like, you know, mine wasn't that good. You know, my numbers weren't that high. You know, my count was kind of low. And, you know, we still got to do some testing and stuff. And Ty does check in, which I appreciate in that moment. She asks her, well, how are you doing with that? How are you feeling? And Camille was like, I don't know. I'm not processing it. I hadn't told Ian about it, you know, because he just got so much going on. I don't know what to tell him. You know, I can't drop that on him. And as she's saying that, he walks up and he's like, drop what on me? And that's when the music keeps coming in. And different song, though. This song on point too. Y'all know the folks be on it on Harlem. And this song was Shoot Me Down. And I don't want to say the name wrong, so I'm going to just spell it. It was Lourdiz. Great song, awesome lyrics to go right here. And as the song starts playing, after Ian says, drop what on me, they do a three-way screen. And on one side, we have Quinn in the tub crying. In the middle, we have, you know, Angie with her man blissfully kissing and doing their thing in the park. And then on the last one, we have Camille looking like a deer in headlights. And as they show that, the lyrics of the song is saying, I need you now more than ever. And that truly does apply to all three of them, in which I think Quinn is needing somebody, anybody, to just be there for her right now. Like, she's needing something or somebody to be there and support her. Angie has found this new guy, and even though she don't know him like that, she needs that moment of feeling that connection because she's been wanting something like that too. And of course, Camille and Ian are needing each other now more than ever because she has some incredible type of news to tell him that, you know, drastic news, I should say, that could do a lot to their relationship. And how she handles that can truly say a lot about their relationship too. But that's where the credits roll, and that's where the song continues to play, that Shoot Me Down. And it's a good episode. I am so ready for 5 and 6. Like, the girls better come on. I am so ready for episode 5 and 6. They have really been giving me my life. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see what the rest of this season has in store. But that is all I got. I ain't got no more this time. So I will see y'all the next episode.